Hi, my name's Sean, and today I'm going to talk about some of the relatively lesser talked about topics in regards to the Torah, the Jewish people, and the Chinese culture in terms of our classics, in terms of the Chinese classics such as Sun Tzu's Art of War, uh, I Ching, and so forth, stuff like that. So there's a lot of parallels, and there's already people out there talking about these differences and similarities between the two cultures in the classics. One thing I want to talk about is just the Sun Tzu's Art of War and how it relates to the book of Proverbs, or the wisdom of King Solomon. Everybody knows about King Solomon. He's a very famous figure throughout history. He's known as one of the major royal figures of the Israeli or Israelite or Jewish nation. He's known to be very wise, according to people, legends, texts, and stuff like that. One of the quotes, I believe, is from Proverbs, is that they talk about military strategy, and one of the more well-known quotes is "Ki b'tachbalot ha'aseh lecha milchama," which means for by the way of deception or way of conspiracy you shall wage war. Now, there's some discrepancies on the translations. Some people say the more accurate translation should be stratagem for takbalot. Some people say the English often translates it as wise counsel, and some people disagree that it should not be wise counsel, but rather stratagem. There's also another quote in the, I believe it's also in Proverbs, that says the counsel of the wicked, the takbalot of the wicked, the conspiracy ideas of the wicked. Obviously, wise counsel could make sense, but the general translation, according to the Jewish, I guess you could say, interpretation is deception or conspiracy, takbalot. Now, in Sun Tzu's Art of War, it also talks about the same thing. All war is deception. 兵者诡道也. Um, you know, uh, so from there we can see that the way the two cultures look at warfare. Not to say that the Western culture does not have elements of deception. We see that in George Washington and his campaign against the British, how he devised all these takpalots. And also, we see, like, even during the American Civil War, there's a lot of deceptions throughout warfare. But the two classics that kind of emphasizes that, or kind of like talks about that, would be Sun Tzu's Art of War and Proverbs. There's also more specifically talking about specific military strategies. For example, I believe it's also in Proverbs. It says when encircling the enemy, you should leave a way out. Now, that's typically interpreted as a way to make it compassionate, be compassionate for the enemy, which, I mean, people argue that you should be. There is room for compassion for the enemy. However, there's also the idea in Sun Tzu's Art of War, according to the commentaries, is that it's also you want to leave a way out to make the enemy think that they have a way out, so that on their way out, you close in and actually, destroy the enemy as they're exiting the place. Now, one can argue that, if the enemy knows that you're the type of person, you're the type of strategist or general or warfighter that's known to use trickery, they might not believe you when they see a way out. So they might, fight to the death and not actually take the way out. So there goes that, in order to actually do the deception, you have to actually go for the truth. You have to actually, leave them the way out. But these are two of the very very specific examples of similarities between, the Torah and the Chinese classics. There are many parallels, other parallels as well. You know, the two cultures. Not there's a I forget which book in the Bible it was, talked about that King Solomon's wisdom surpassed that of the children of the East. And the word for East, in the Bible was known to be, it's talking about the Far East, Oriental. like China, Japan, those kind of places. It's not just like the Middle East. It's not like the East, a little bit far out east. It's talking about the Far East. So, specifically, they talk about King Solomon's abilities, his wisdom, his insights and things like that, surpassed the children of the East. So at that time, during that time, there was some kind of communication between the two areas of the world. There was also the Silk Road, which was built sometimes maybe a little bit later. There has been a lot of trades going on between the Middle East and China and places like that. So there has to have been some cultural exchanges between the two areas of the world. There's also the messianic concept. In Taoism, in certain branches of Taoism, there's also the concept known as Tianzi, meaning the son of heaven. And from that, there's also the messianic concept of Hong something. It's a word. I couldn't remember on top of my head. It's a word talking about a specific Taoist messianic figure, and his job, his role in the eschatological, redemptious, process or whatever, is to reunite the heaven with earth. And that's also a Jewish concept of the Messiah, Mashiach, reuniting the male and the female together. The man shall become the woman becomes a man. Not, typically not interpreted in a literal sense, but the idea that the two opposites will merge together in the what they call the final redemption, Geula. Lots has been talked about between the similarities between Christianity and Judaism, but not a lot has been talked about between Judaism and Taoism, and the Middle Eastern eschatological landscape and the Eastern eschatological landscapes. So, hopefully this has sowed some seeds for thought. There's a lot of research that you can do on your own. You can do it for personal enlightenment or for your own research. Hopefully this has shed some light. There's lots to be talked about, but this is just an introduction to some of the snippets of the similarities between the Torah and Chinese classics, such as the Sun Tzu's Art of War. All right, thank you.